For those of you that are friends of the channel, you know that we've been doing a ton of oval racing lately, but I've been getting that on-road itch. And what is one of the best ways to scratch that itch when you are into RC? Well, it's to pick up a new RC car. And that's what we have here today. We have the CRC Metricks, which is their newest 12 scale option. For 2025, a lot of great stuff built into this car at a great value. So we're going to talk a little bit about the GT12 class that I'll be running in, and we've already ran the car. It'll kind of give a quick overview of it and some other things. So I'm Chad. This is the Dorky and 40 RC channel. Let's talk about some 12 scale on-road today. So actually about a year and a half ago, I got into on-road racing big time. We were running the GT12 for a little bit, and then we wanted to get into something else. I didn't want to jump into the touring car craze, but as you know, since then we've got into F1 and a couple other things. So the CRC Carpet Knife 25 was actually the first car that I got. It was a little dated and it performed well enough for me, but the dating that came along with it, it made it a lot more difficult for me to kind of understand and to kind of work on. So like anybody, most people into on-road racing, I gravitated toward X-ray. X-ray manuals I've spoken about before were just bar none. They're the best. They have all kinds of information, setup information. There was the Snowbird setup that the X-ray driver would always post. So that way you pretty much just put the setup on your car, make little tweaks, and everything was all good. This is my 2024, which I have a ton of parts for that I will be selling, all set up for GT12. This car is a tank. It's super great, but one of the huge flaws about X-ray is just the cost of ownership, man. It is just absolutely ridiculous. Now, I was pretty excited when they announced the 2025 and all of the little features that they had built into it. It made me pretty excited because it brought things into that new age that we have seen with other manufacturers such as Awesomatics and some other people that have been doing things. But there's been another big problem with 12 scale racing, especially in GT12, and that is tires. So when we originally got these, there was one manufacturer really of tires, and the tires that they used, it kind of became like a tire game. The quality of the tires went down big time. The wheels went down big time. The offsets on the wheel designs constantly were changing. So you're always chasing the setup on the car. So you might start a car at the beginning of the day, and by the end of the day, your ride height's changed and all kinds of stuff. And if you wanted your car to perform at its maximum, these kind of rubber tires, you would have to take them on and off, not just clean them, but you would have to put them on the tire truer and all kinds of stuff to like skim the crap off of them. It was a pretty big mess. And I know a lot of average people like myself that ran GT12, we just quit running it because a set of tires could last you a race, or it could last you a weekend or a race event, depending upon just kind of how things happened. But recently we've got multiple manufacturers making tires now. So we've got Motive that has their gravity tires, which are a pure rubber tire that, you know, they wear out as well, but they're going to last a long time. They're kind of large. They fit the GT12 platform pretty well. They'll work really well with it from what I hear and what I can see. I've also ran them, and they just last. They're not like the other tires that we used before. CRC has also came out with a new rubber tire as well, which is lasting a very long time, and it's a little bit bigger, but you don't have to get into the entire truing game and all that kind of stuff to like stay competitive and have fun and everything else. And the rims hold up, everything is good. So now buying a $40 to $50 set of tires every week or two is out of the equation. We don't have to take these things off and true them or nothing. So the GT12 is basically back to what it was promised as delivered to me as a new racer. The only problem is I still have to race against super highly competitive people that are young and older people that can't really or don't really want to race in the highly fast 12 scale stuff anymore. They kind of like just enjoying GT12. So we're probably never going to have ultimate glory with it, but that's okay because we're all about having fun and learning RC. Now, the great thing about the CRC car right off the bat is going to be just what you're getting for your money. The quality step up on this car compared to the CK25 is just night and day. Like, CRC has really put a lot of time and effort into this car. It's winning and proven already at different national type of events. They've been testing this car for quite some time. The tires are working amazingly well with it, and it's got all of the user conveniences that I am looking for at a $280 price. So you literally could buy this car in almost any setup option that you would ever need for about the price of an X-Ray X1225, which is pretty incredible. So big thumbs up there. So when it comes to everything that I like, you know, we're going to start with just the overall design of the car. So a lot of these cars now are moving away from your old school type of pan car where you have a separate chassis here, and then you have this like pod that goes in the back that controls your motor and everything. You've got like side dampers, and you got this big center shock. Getting your batteries in and out and stuff is, you know, it's kind of a pain in the ass because you got to take things off and move things around and all that kind of stuff. I still have the same issues on my F1, which I was rebuilding last night because we're going to run it, and we'll have some more F1 stuff here on the channel coming up. So you can see there is none of that here on the Metricks. So basically we have a two-piece chassis design. So just like the X-Ray Awesomatics and everything, you've got one solid piece that goes on back here. You got a battery holder that is independent that goes underneath here. And then you can see the aluminum top deck. And this aluminum top deck basically is what pivots back and forth. So you've got pivot screws here. You've got a couple rear dampers that are vertical right there that are underneath these damper tubes. And you can see how the damper extends up and down. And it's pretty much all controlled by a center roll spring right underneath here for your tension. And then there's two roll springs underneath right here that controls your tweak and everything on how this plate moves. This entire top plate rides on two set screws that you set up, and then you've got the usual stuff kind of in the front that you're always going to have with pan cars and stuff. You've got kingpins for shocks, so you've got different spacers and springs and everything else. You've got the convenience of the battery tray and the battery being completely accessible. I notched this out so I can just undo this screw and pull the battery right out. I don't have to worry about moving things and taking off the center shock and all of that kind of stuff. CRC has made a ton of videos out there that explain how to get the car properly set up for the various ride heights and stuff based on what size tire that you are going to be running, because now our tires are pretty much going to stay the same size that they are when we put them on. They're not going to basically just completely wear down run after run after run, and you're not going to have to make crazy adjustments to everything, shims, dampings, weights, everything to try to keep everything in line. So what does that mean? That means that you can enjoy the car and just kind of run it and race it and learn how to drive it better, and you have less fuss. Every single screw on this kit is accessible with a screwdriver. Unlike my X-Ray and the F1, especially, I was working on it yesterday. You know, you have to remove certain sub-assemblies to get to like certain parts. And I know that like they've cleaned that up in a lot of their newer cars. It's just a two-piece chassis design, kind of just allows some of that stuff to go away. But it kind of seems like X-Ray went like 50% of the way or 75% of the way on the F1 and on the 12 scale, instead of going all in and just making all of the changes that they needed to make. you know, it's fine. If they have a front end that they think it works and they need to work on the rest of it, cool, whatever. But for me, this is definitely the way that I wanted to go. So there's beautiful documentation on here as far as how to get this thing built and set up. We've already went and raced it. I'm going to need to make a couple more changes to the car to get things the way that I want. So I do want to lower it a little bit more. The minimum ride height for 12 scale is like 3 millimeters. It's sitting around 4 right now. It got some shimming and some things that I need to change, and it comes with all the parts that you need to do that. And then, like, again, all of their parts are so cheap. Instead of paying $10 or $20 for a bag of like 3 or 4 or 5 screws from some other companies, you're getting everything for this. And then all of your high-end type of people, and then all of your high-end people like Sagami Fab and Synergy are making various parts and everything for this car. I did take my Awesomatics gear diff, which is gear differential, and put this on my car. Gear differentials on these 12 scales with GT12 just are a lot more forgiving for basically everybody and different carpet conditions. On very high grip carpet, of course, it does come with the direct axle, and they do offer a ball diff conversion kit that you can get if you don't want to go with something like this. You know, that was $100 and some option that I had, that I had ran on the X-Ray and on the old CRC. I pulled it off. It goes right on here. It's one thing that's nice about these 12 scales is pretty much everything just fits with everything. And now that CRC is actually using metric hardware instead of regular standard American stuff, you know, you've got tons of screws and washers and this and that and your shims and everything else. Everything that those miscellaneous parts that I paid extra for, I can use on this car if needed, even though pretty much everything that you need comes in the box. It's just whatever little extras that you wanted to get. If you've never ran GT12 before, GT12 is kind of like a spec type of a class. It's like a 21.5 fixed timing motor, and there is a certain body. I think they're changing a couple different bodies that you can run. A lot of people pretty much just run the Super Rad Super Cura, which is kind of like the standard go-to, but you can run any kind of body that you want. Of course, I had the stock set spec 1S ESC already and everything. So literally just kind of picked everything up and plopped it in. Like if you're looking for details on the car, as far as how everything goes and works, definitely check out CRC's website, check out the instruction manual, all that kind of stuff. And really with that, I'm going to make some changes to this car and get it ready for some racing coming up this weekend. And here, let's take a look a little bit at the race footage from the past weekend where we put the car down. The whole goal was to just get the car working and make sure everything worked out, find out if anything was loosening or anything else. I'm happy to report there was no issues all day long. No screws were backing out. Nothing needed to be retightened. Everything just worked flawlessly. The one dumb thing though is these TPU type of caps that they have for your upper dampers to come up into. They are kind of a hokey design. They understand that, and I think they're trying to work on something else. They come printed in TPU and they kind of slip over everything, and they probably could do a little bit better of a design on that. Batteries, all my batteries are a little tight, so I'm probably going to kind of file out a little bit of carbon fiber a little bit here, just so the batteries are a little bit easier to get in and out. But other than that, boy, I could not be happier with this car. Everything is fantastic. The whole goal of racing Saturday, like I said, was to make sure the car held up and to just drive it, have fun, get it dialed in, and get faster every heat. And that's exactly what we did. So, you know, we're never going to have GT12 glory, I don't think, but you never know what could happen. But I was super happy that I was able to build this car pretty much to kit, scale it out, throw it on the track, and just kind of play around with gearing and get comfortable with how this car was driving, wear my tires in, and make improvements every day. I think like at the beginning of the day, my hot lap was like 11.9 and my averages were close to like 13. And by the end of the day, I had trimmed that all down by at least a second. And I think the hot lap that I got was about 11:02. I tried to get into the 10.9s, and I think the super fast people were running at like 10.3s, 10.4s. So we're not that far off. We'll get there eventually. Let's go through and look at some race footage and kind of talk that over. All right, so we're starting this in fifth here. We're the second to red car here. Got a pretty decent start. Bad luck there on the corner, which kind of sucked and set us up for not much hope for the rest of the day. Joe did wipe out kind of right there, and in the end, he did catch up with me a few times, and he failed a couple times too. I think he felt bad for me that I was running a lot bit cleaner than he was, and he did let me finish in fourth place, which is fine. But overall, again, you know, this is the first race, the fourth heat that I had on the car. Really didn't make much adjustments at all day, except for just kind of playing with gearing. With GT12 gearing, you kind of have to just like stick with a spur, which on the Awesomatics is a 62. And then I was kind of just playing with pinions a little bit to try to find a more comfortable feel. And as I got more used to the car, just kind of dialing things in. But GT12 racing is really just all about driving smooth, hitting your lines, and having your car perform. Now, I did have to have the tires come in throughout the day. They're probably, I would say, about 75 to 80% there. So throughout the first heats of the day, I was definitely getting a little bit of wiggle. They were super sticky still and picking up a lot of stuff on the track, so traction was going away. And I still make the same mistakes with this car as I do with my X-Ray, because I still need to learn how to drive a lot better. But I definitely have a sense of confidence just because of what we were able to do with just putting this car down on the track and going for it. So we're going to go ahead and start making some changes to the car, get our ride height down a little bit lower. We've got a body to mount up again, even though this body is just fine. It is definitely off. Mounting 12 scale bodies is a huge pain in the ass. They're so flimsy, but I was able to trace out some body holes for somebody else. Thanks, Ron, who helped me set up some stuff throughout the day. And his holes are a lot cleaner and perfect than mine. So we're painting up a new body for the races and stuff coming up soon. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions, definitely let me know. And hey, GT12 is back, baby. We will talk to you all later. Peace.